It was a long time coming, but Ash Ketchum finally pulled something off that all the haters thought he never could and never would. And what a curious spectacle it was. So let's talk about it. Hey Charles, it's everyone. How are you today? Firstly, if you did not catch my message over on Twitter on April 1st, happy 25th anniversary to the Pokemon anime. The show has been an absolute blast over the years, and I am curious to hear your favorite moments in the anime thus far, so be sure to drop me a comment or tweet me over on Twitter at charusharu to tell me all about those special moments. Any hoot hoots, Ash Ketchum himself celebrated the show's Big 25 by taking things to the next level in a two-part special that did not disappoint. So today's plan is to review 1. Episode 103, during which Ash goes through intensive training with Clement in preparation for 2. Episode 104, in which he faces Kalos Elite Four member Drasna in the World Coronation series. Both of these episodes were gems in their own right, new ground was broken for the anime, and as always it is going to be a fun time, so kindly subscribe, give that like button a little tickle for the YouTube algorithm, and let's jump right in. In episode 103, Ash and Go moseyed on over to Lumiose City to meet up with his old friends from Kalos, except Serena, and ended up engaging in an intensive training session with Clement at Lumiose City Gym to prepare for the big clash in the subsequent episode. Seeing Ash back at that airport in Kalos brought back nostalgic memories, and I half expected another kiss scene when the two split up. Wait a second. Ash arrives at Lumiose City Gym just in time to see Clement KO some pinky dinky jobber and his whatever that thing is, while elsewhere Go runs into Bonnie, who helps him catch a Froakie. Go Greninja inbound. Anyways, it was cool to see that Clement's small and cute rabbit has evolved into big, creepy Donnie Darko rabbit, and Clement's interest in and interactions with Ash's new Pokemon were also a treat. In other words, Dragonite is still the #1 hug monster, and Mr. Fish is still weird and likes to eat things. Serious Sirfetch'd immediately transitions into practice mode, and Clement recognizes that Sirfetch'd is trying to learn Meteor Assault. And Clement is Clement, so he has just the right tech for the job, gets shirtless Donald geared up like Andy Serkis, and together with Clement's tech support and analysis, along with Ash's hands-on coaching, Sirfetch'd was finally able to get a handle on the technique. In classic Ash and Clement bromance fashion, the episode wraps up with a double battle to put the learnings to the test. Sirfetch'd and Dracovish versus Luxray and big creepy Donnie Darko rabbit. Long story short, Sirfetch'd drops Luxray with Meteor Assault, and Dracovish goes full-on Super Saiyan Fish to smash Big Rabbit with a newly learned Dragon Rush attack. With 2 new tricks in the bag, it was nearly time to face Dragon Mom Drasna, who we see elsewhere at the conclusion of the episode, training with Wickstrom, because he's a good man. Not only was it a chuckle fest seeing Mr. Fish and Sirfetch'd emerge as very awkward but also very easy allies over the course of their training session, but this excursion checked off all the boxes of a good character return episode. Most importantly, the relaxed pacing allowed time for both Clement and Bonnie to shine, and the outcomes of the training session with Clement would directly influence Ash's quest moving forward, with both Meteor Assault and Dragon Rush serving as invaluable tools in Ash's upcoming match against Drasna. Speaking of which, Episode 104 was the culmination of what had been getting everyone hot over the preceding week. Ash versus a member of the Elite Four in a crowded stadium. This was the very first time that a proper, sanctioned, formal battle unfolded between Ash and an Elite Four member of any region, and the informal battles he has had in the past against Prima, Drake, Agatha, Flint, and Bertha. All of these ended with our boy slurping down a fat L, as the role of these characters in the anime has always been to humble Ash and teach him lessons about life and Pokemon battles. But at this point in time, Ash has grown up and already shown his quality as a regional league champion capable of making mincemeat of some of the best trainers in town. So we knew that Ash versus Drasna was going to be something special. Firstly, I love how Pokemon Journeys is just such a natural stage upon which to bring characters from older generations of Pokemon games who never had their time in the limelight back in those respective sagas of the anime, and Drasna is exactly the kind of outwardly gentle but somewhat unhinged and psychotic Jukujo that you would expect her to be. This is evident in the lead up to the match, where she greets Ash as a soft, motherly figure before crushing his hand with her iron grip and threatening him. That's my gal. Ash looks pretty nervous at this point, and rightfully so given his 0-5 record against the Elite Four echelon. Regardless, with Ash and Drozna going into the match ranked 15th and 12th in the world respectively, the sizzler we'd been waiting for kicked off. The match card consisted of Sirfetch'd and Dracovish versus Altaria and Noivern. And to be honest, the match was about as bipolar as Drozna herself, slipping from fierce to funny, emotional to silly, tense to jovial, and back again without skipping a beat over the course of the match. But what would you expect with Mr. Fish leading the charge against the freaky Dragon One-san and her eccentric fluffy bird? It was unconventional, it was weird, but it was enjoyable from start to finish. In short, Ash leads against Noivern with Sirfetch'd. Sirfetch'd struggles from the get-go, its Meteor Assault is blocked, Noivern runs Slipshod on it, and Ash is ultimately forced to withdraw Sirfetch'd before it gets dropped. Mr. Fish then hits the pitch, makes Mr. Fish noises, and dances around excitedly. What a quirky chap. The two clash, and while Mr. Fish takes a big hit, it also damages Noivern so heavily that Drozna decides to make a substitution of her own, and her ace, Altaria, enters the fray. Drozna's Altaria is about as zany as Mr. Fish, but also a seasoned veteran who has answers to every question that Dracovish throws at it. It was not looking good. And matters get worse when Drozna reveals her keystone and Mega evolves Altaria into the happiest looking fluffy bird thing I've ever seen. But this fluffy bird thing hits like an adult Caucasian male with a well-built muscular physique and long blonde hair, usually sporting a ponytail, in a street brawl, working Mr. Fish left and right. Altaria's post-Mega Evolution type change also catches Ash off guard, and he pulls Dracovish for Sirfetch'd before it's too late. And yet Dracovish bursts out of its Pokeball of its own volition to cheer Sirfetch'd on from the sidelines. Mr. Fish, you are a bro among bros. And Sirfetch'd does good on the switch, eventually knocking Altaria out with Meteor Assault before hitting the ground itself, leaving Noivern versus Dracovish as the decisive matchup of the battle, with Sirfetch'd returning Dracovish's favor by bursting out of its own ball to cheer its comrade to the finish line. Mr. Fish gets serious, and we are treated to some gorgeous set pieces as the match approaches its climax, with the two dragons throwing everything they've got at one another. As expected, the tone of this final stretch of the match was much more serious than that of the opening and mid-game, and at one point when Mr. Fish got totally blown out and was left laying on its back in the dirt, and Drozna had her Noivern tear into it while it was helpless. The tension in the stadium was thick enough to make pancakes out of, but Sirfetch'd managed to fire its friend up for one last confrontation. Dracovish gets to its feet, and Ash orders it to make the decisive strike. Dracovish's Dragon Rush and Noivern's Dragon Pulse collide, the sparks fly, the stadium rocks and shakes from a massive explosion in the center of the pitch, and when the dust settles, we see the contestants staring each other down, only for Noivern to collapse while Dracovish stays standing. Dracovish wins, Team Ketchum wins, and as suspected, Ash Ketchum ranks up to 9th in the world, leaving just one more opponent to defeat before breaking into the Master Class. Just like that, Ash Ketchum made Pokemon anime history by toppling an Elite Four level Pokemon trainer for the very first time. And he did it all while training up and fielding the most unconventional squad imaginable. Neither Dracovish nor Sirfetch'd have had a particularly commanding presence in the anime thus far, but at last they showed their stuff and it was a proper spectacle. On the whole, this was a two-part episode done right. The reunion with Clement and Bonnie was a relaxing and rewarding throwback to the XY days. Ash and Clement's special training tied directly into the outcomes of the battle against Drozna in the following episode, and Bonnie topped it all off by trying to hook Clement up with Drozna, because she is the best little sister in the entire world.